Welcome for all of you, and let me tell you what I usually say. Hold your questions until the end of the webinar, please, because we're going to do questions at the end. Write the questions down so you remember them. We always have to drag them out of people. Keith Medensky will be joining me at that point, and so let's just get started. We'll do the first slide. Ooh, we're moving. Okay, I do this every single time. Why can I teach this? Because I'm an author, a teacher, an expert in midlife siblings and the aging family, and of course, geriatric care management. I wrote the Handbook of Geriatric Care Management with a whole bunch of other people in the field. And I have over the years. It's in its 4th edition, going into its 5th. The most important book, I think, and I always point this out, that I wrote is Care Managers Working with the Aging Family, because it's about family systems, aging family systems, and it's the clinical text. So it's an excellent book. Again, many of my colleagues helped me. Mom Loves You Best, which is about the worst, and I always say this, the worst offenders in the family, the siblings, and the only operations manual in the field that tells you soup to nuts how to deliver 15 services. So we'll go on. And this is my dear colleague, Keith Medensky, who is in Florida, risking his life to do this. He's not on the coast. We already covered that part. But he doesn't have a generator. But he's not next to the ocean in Tampa. He's an active member of the Florida Aging Life Association and, of course, ALCA nationally, and the National Council of Certified Dementia Practitioners, the #1 fear that most older people have, and the National Academy of Certified Care Managers. And Keith will be helping me all along the way, as he has for years, and we'll move on. And so this is what we're going to cover. This is the agenda. Well, first of all, why market to wealth managers, trust departments, and financial planners? Why did I even think of doing this? And how will you make money at it? And so what's the difference between them? What's the difference between a trust, a wealth manager, and a financial planner? And then how do you find them? If you want to market to them, how do you find them? Setting up a meeting, how you do that because that's always one of the hardest things to do. What do you bring to the meeting? Because it's a theatrical presentation, really. You never think of that, but you've got to have props. And so we'll go over that, and then what you present, how you make the sale, and then the benefits and the features, which are critically important. I talk a bit about them often, to offer to wealth managers at the meeting, or financial planners. And who are the top wealth managers? And I have a whole link that will show you 100 of them. So and you can, I will help you that way. And then we're going to have some really interesting interviews. The first is with Patrice Harrison, who is doing wealth managers pretty much moving across the country, and Margaret Stolfus, and she works with financial planners as a care manager, and they're just great interviews. And we're going to do one in the middle and one at the end. And so let's get started. Okay, why market to wealth managers? Why did I do this in the first place? So, wealth managers and trust departments serve the uber rich, especially the wealth manager, when they cater to the top 2%. And these VIP elders in the top 2% can afford you long-term because they have the assets to pay privately. And why do you need that? Well, you need long-term clients who can afford your services because you don't want to start opening, closing, opening, closing. That actually is very expensive. And it actually just drives care managers crazy because you have to upload, onboard everybody, solve the problems over and over and over again. So these are people literally that you can keep for years. And many care managers will tell you that they have clients forever if they're delivering gold standard care. And another reason that you need these people is, as you well know, Medicare doesn't cover care management or long-term care. And so these are your optimal clients, the golden clients, because they can pay privately and they offer a long-term sustainable financial growth to your aging life or GCM company. And we'll move to the next slide. So what is a wealth manager? Well, really, they're a subset of financial managers. And primarily, what's the difference? They serve the ultra high net worth individual, and they primarily work in banks. And they offer the same services as a more general financial planner, but they also provide philanthropic and legal planning services, mostly to save taxes. I'm putting that in there. And among other specialized services. So they're different in that regard with specialized service. We'll move to the next slide. So who are financial planners or advisors? They plan for the cost of aging and retirement, and that's where you come in. They're a financial investor who helps clients with a wide range of financial services or products. And they're different, and they're not in banks. They're independent. Either they work only in their own office, or they may be part of large firms, but mostly they're not in banks. And they help choose and trade securities so that they're amassing wealth to be able to afford to retire when you only have Social Security. And they structure long-term savings. So, you in that piggy bank that you see, they're filling it up for you as you age. And they invest in securities and long-term term care coverage. They don't do what you do, but you are there to help them. So we'll move it to the next slide. So why offering concierge GCM services to trust financial managers and wealth managers is a fabulous idea, because you fit right in. A GCM, what you are is a highly skilled health professional who acts as a VIP personal assistant. It's really one definition of what you do to the aging family, and you deliver long-term care services that they need at the right time, the right place. It's like Goldilocks, at the right level of care. So you have all these skills, but you can also, most of us can do this, you can estimate the cost of that increase in care. Because, I always say, you can't give Jaguar services if you have a Hyundai budget. And so we don't like to talk about money, care managers, but you have to know it. So, so that you get the right service for your client. And so you can estimate the cost of increasing care, because you do it all the time. And, the care of these clients in retirement, as they go through retirement and run into aging deficits. So the financial advisor and wealth manager can make a plan together. And it's an absolutely perfect marriage. And I'll show you more about it. So we'll move on. So you as a care manager should work with both a financial planner and the wealth manager, who is sort of this like elevated financial planner, because you're a GPS through elder care. They're a GPS through money and accumulating it. And the GCM helps concierge clients step by step in a one-to-one relationship through one of the hardest journeys of their life. because we all look forward to retirement, sailing down the Danube, even though it's drying up. Um, and it doesn't always end up that way. Let's put it that way. So you as a GCM for these entitled clients, the financial planner is working with entitled clients, but not the stratospheric ones. So you know how to be a concierge like a 5-star hotel. And I say this a lot. But you want to, that's why I always say you're delivering gold standard services, because these people expect it and you know how to deliver it. And you serve the family and solving their elder care problems, their caregiving problems, and you know how to make elder care seamless. And that's the important thing to these rarefied entitled clients, because they want perfect delivery and you know how to do it. But the deal breaker is, this is the problem. Most care managers did not know they must have, which is you have to have marketing skills. You have to have sales skills and to bring the client to your services. So that's what's lacking in this, idealized world of the marriage of the financial planner and the wealth manager and you. So we'll move to the next slide. So now we're going to have this wonderful interview with Meg, her real name's Meg Stolfus, who's a care manager and actually was my student many, many years ago when Keith and I were at the University of Florida. So we'll listen to a great interview with her. Good afternoon, Meg, and I'm really glad that you came to help my students understand about approaching financial managers and the other version of them, wealth managers, which you're working with financial managers. So we worked out some questions, and you want to briefly tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My background is as a licensed professional counselor. I've had that credential for over 20 years now. And then I got my aging life care professional credential a few years ago after doing the post-bachelor's certificate program at University of Florida.
Okay. And you were my student.
Yes. Yes.
This is so.
In some ways, it feels like a long time ago, and in other ways, it wasn't a long time ago.
It wasn't at all. So we've worked together to put together some questions, and so I'm going to ask them. And the first one was, how did you go into being a care manager for a financial planner? So how did you get there?
Yeah. So for about a decade, I worked at a very large institution as a work-life professional, and my job there was to manage a large suite of services from breastfeeding support all across the lifespan, breastfeeding support, childcare, elder care services, pre-retirement planning, and this was focused on the needs of the faculty and staff at this institution. And in my role of coordinating the pre-retirement planning program, my responsibility was coordinating the non-financial aspects of retirement planning. But in my role of coordinating the seminars and other educational content, I met a financial advisor who would come in and do workshops for us. And over a 10-year period, he and I worked very closely together in my role. And he really recognized the value that non-financial retirement planning, is how they put it, wealth manager types, how the benefits that would provide to his clients, because he saw that as his clients were aging, they were facing a lot of issues like caregiver stress and housing choices, and all of these big issues ultimately had financial implications. Great. So when I left that position, a few years later, he and I reconnected, and he asked me to start a program for the firm, for his clients at his firm.
And I can tell you, and that's one of the first programs in the country to do that. hats off to you, to the financial planner and you
Mhm.
for that. Okay, so what benefit? I mean, you're just
Mhm.
describing it that he saw these benefits, but maybe you
Mhm.
go into a little bit more detail. Did you bring to the financial planner that, he saw that it was so important to
Mhm.
bring you into his practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So he was a very forward thinking. He's an innovator. He's a forward thinking leader, and he decided that he really felt in this situation, and I think it will be fairly unique, that he decided he wanted to bring these services in house. They frequently refer out to care managers, but he really wanted to have this service provided on an in-house basis, because he felt as though, and I think there's definitely some truth to this, that the clients have a very high level of trust in the firm that's managing their money. And by having me on staff, that level of trust would be translated into this new type of relationship that they had with the firm. So I've been able to, in terms of some of the value I provide to them, I know the staff really well now. I know the other advisors at the firm. I know what they call the client service liaisons, who do a lot of the day-to-day work of trading and moving money into the accounts properly. And so those folks are very intimately familiar with the issues that the clients are facing, and they can provide referrals to me. So it's really this close working relationship, and it appears nearly seamless for the clients of the firm. That my involvement, which is still voluntary on their part, but it ends up being a really smooth process for them to have me involved when they need me.
Right. And that's on top of what you just said, that he could foresee in an innovative way that your understanding as a care manager could help with all the deficits of aging that as he encountered all his older clients, he saw going through. So yeah, thank you.
And generally, Cathy, too, one of the things I'm finding that's different from my role with other care managers in my area in Maryland, that I meet with them on the monthly basis as part of ALCA, and my clients through this firm are pre-planners. And so I'm there proactively thinking about aging, caregiving, et cetera. And so I'm able to be there to help them with that planning process. And that's a different value that I'm bringing to the table than many other care manager situations, because they're usually seeking out an aging life care professional in the midst of a crisis.
Exactly. And that you've moved it, and he, by hiring you, has moved it away from crisis management, which we all want to do, to people that are pre-planning. And that's very innovative in itself. Not that he created that, but I mean through people wanting to plan, which most people don't plan their aging.
Right.
That's great. So what are your skills, the skills that you bring to the financial planner?
I would say they're all of the traditional skills that you bring if you have a private practice. Those skills in terms of rapport building and being able to provide resources, being able to support people through difficult experiences, being able to collaborate with other professionals, senior serving professionals. So all of those skills, I think, are absolutely critical in this role as well. And I would say that you also really need the ability to work with little direction, because these professionals can be incredibly busy, and this is one piece of what they're doing in their work with their client. But you also need to be able to work well with a team, because you are seen as a collaborative partner with the financial advisor. And the other thing is I found that I have to be utterly professional at all times and very responsive. the trust again, and the relationship that the advisor has with the clients, that you are an extension of that relationship. And so the service I provide has to be top notch at all times.
Yeah. And wouldn't you say that that even though you're interacting with these financial managers, that you are skilled in helping them figure out the cost of care and then projecting it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the pieces of value that I add to the advisors, is I'm able to help when I meet with the clients. I'm able to find out what their goals are, find out what their needs are, and really help them think through the process of what do they want and what will work for them. And then once we make some of those decisions, once I walk them through the process of making some of those decisions, then I can go back to the advisor and say, here's the cost. This is what we're looking at this point. Can they afford it? And then the advisor can start to be more a part of that process of figuring out, because the advisors in my firm have said, we want you to start. That's the starting point we want. The order of operations is you talk with the client, you figure out what they want and what they need, and then come back to us and we'll figure out, can they afford it? They don't want that process being driven the other way.
Right, exactly. When I teach care managers, it's just so important. I mean, we're not used as social workers to asking about money, but you really absolutely have to understand the financial goal and the financial ability. Somebody once said to me that you can either have Hyundai care or you can have Jaguar care. You have to have the money to have both of those. And so it's really implicit in a care manager's job to understand that, to have a nursing home that looks out at the Pacific Ocean, or one on a street that isn't so pleasant. It's
very
different in cost.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is a great last question, and we've talked about it, so I know your answer, and I'm thrilled to have you say it. What would you suggest to the care managers that are listening to this webinar, who want to work with a financial planner and they don't know how to do that? They don't know how to find them and to say.
I would say to start with talking with your own financial advisor about what you do and the benefits that you can provide to them. They already know you, and I feel like the relationship part of this is key. It can be, some of them will understand what you do and the value you can provide to your client, and hopefully they find your card or remember your name when they need a referral for a client. But I really think that the relationship piece can make this so much easier. So I would start with your own advisor. I would also do some research and learn about the field of wealth management. I was recruited to this position, so I did not know anything about financial advising or wealth management before I started in the firm. And it's been a really interesting learning curve. It was a huge learning curve for me, particularly related to the types of regulations that financial services firms are subject to. So understanding what the compliance issues are around advertising, what the constraints are. So I would do some research. I would recommend doing some research if this is the type of relationship that you're seeking. I would also ask to do a presentation in front of the firm, and I would ask not just to do it in front of the advisors, but I would want to do it in front of the entire staff, because again, like I mentioned, the client service liaisons, they oftentimes know the intricacies of people's lives, before the advisors do, and may think of you as a referral source. So I would ask to do a brief presentation, again, having been done your homework and studied up on what the firms are about and what they do and what their constraints are, and then ask to do that for the entire staff. I would also recommend you could do it as part of the presentation, or separately in handouts, but I would do some case studies or some brief examples about
Yeah.
how you can help.
That's
You
a
know, just-
great idea.
yeah, I mean, just identifying information, changing names, changing situations, but I would still, you could still give them a really full picture, I think, of
Mhm.
how, when to call you, what are the ways, what are the times that you could act, and what are some of the things you might do to help a particular client. So walk them through a case study, I think could be helpful. The other thing I think is most people will very quickly see how you as a care manager can be of value during a crisis. But as I said, a lot of these folks are pre-planners. So I would make sure that you're address in these presentations, how can you help people by pre-planning? What kinds of services could you provide to them? What kind of support, sort of developing an aging plan with them, or meeting with, doing family meetings with them and their adult children, or just, what fits the culture of your firm. Because again, a lot of these folks that have financial advisors are pre-planners. So what can you do for them? And I would say the last and most important thing is really to provide tremendous service every time you're asked to consult on a case for a financial advisor. If you have a staff of people working for you, I would give the case to if you don't take it yourself, I would give it to the very most experienced person you have, so that you're certain that the experience will be top notch, that advisor and that client receives, because that word of mouth will begin to really punctuate the value that you offer.
First impressions are, your parents could have told you this, but it's really true. First impressions is really important. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much. It's just been a delight. And we're going to list your email address or how you want to be contacted at the end, so that anybody in the webinar, and there are a lot of people, want to, talk more,
That would be great.
I
would love to connect with people. Thanks, Cathy. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. And you'll get a copy of this too. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so that was a wonderful interview, and let's move on to the next slide, and I'm going to emphasize some of her points. Okay, so meeting with financial planners, and Meg has covered a lot of this. Okay. And I'm just going to underline what she said. Bring case studies. You should bring them every time you make a presentation. And brief examples, don't make them long, of how you can help a client, because show and tell is really important. You learned it in kindergarten, because you're giving them a fuller picture of the services you provide. And since, in a financial planner, most of these people are going to be pre-planners, like heaven delivers them. There are them out there. And make sure you let the advisors know how you can help them through a crisis, or to avoid a crisis. And that's something we should all know as a care management skill. And then provide, like she said, gold standard service. I say it every time I talk to you. Each time you're asked to consult, because that's what you should be delivering to everyone, but especially to this group. If you have, as she said, if you're not going to make the presentation, give the staff to the best person. And, in some agencies, the really difficult cases only go to one care manager that really has these care management skills of solving very difficult problems. But make sure that the service that you give the first time, and this is true in any case, is top notch. And we'll move to the next slide. Okay, how do I find a wealth manager and a financial manager? Well, if you have a financial advisor, like she said, and many of you may do, because you should know that you need the money to retire, ask them if you can make a presentation. because you already, and I'm going to use this word over and over again, have a relationship. And like she said, do the presentation in front of the firm, not just the advisors, but the client liaisons, because they do all the hard work of finding that money and investing it. And they know the problems. They'll think of you also as a referral source, because word of mouth follows you to other financial managers. It's just the way it is in every position. And we'll move on. So a sales meeting, how do you do this? Because, that's what Meg's talking about with third parties. And this goes for any third party, but I'm going to, talk about financial managers and wealth managers. Care managers in general can become are sales phobic, because we were nurses and social workers. Nobody taught us that in school. And so you're scared. Many people are scared. Sales doesn't come to everyone. So you want to have a CRM database. I talked about this before, customer relation database, to keep all that marketing information in. And you want to schedule a meeting in that. And then think of this. This is what you know how to do: relationship building. You know how to do that as a care manager. And this is a way to establish a relationship. And because it's best to establish a relationship in a face-to-face, meeting, where you can establish credibility and create that relationship. And we'll move on. I'm going to use relationship a lot, and we'll move on. So how to set up a meeting with a wealth manager or a financial manager. This yellow link here, click on this when you're done here, because I have, I think, 100, this is out of Forbes, top wealth managers and financial managers. And find the one that's nearest you. They're usually located in regions all over the country. If it's a wealth manager, they're going to be in banks, and banks have a zillion branches like Wells Fargo. But the wealth management agency or office is only going to be in one place. Like, I live in Santa Cruz, California. They're not down here with me. They are up in Palo Alto, the land of Silicon Valley, where all the money is. So I have to drive up to make a presentation to them. And that's what you have to figure out in that banking system. Where's the wealth management office? And then you make an appointment with them. And so we'll move on to the next slide. So the sales meeting, again, I'm going to beat this here, is a relationship building meeting. So you want to know what your third party is interested in. And this is true for anybody you make a presentation to: elder law, concierge companion, all that stuff. But with a wealth manager, you want your whole menu of services. And you want a menu of services. You don't want to say, I do assessment. No. You want to say, I have a moving product, because we know older people move all the time. We know how to move people, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Home from the hospital. We know how to deal with people getting in, out of the hospital. We know how to deal with end of life, et cetera. But have those as products and bring them all to them. And you can, with an individual, you just call ahead and find out. Like an elder law attorney is going to be interested in a written geriatric assessment to go to court. So take this wonderful face-to-face opportunity to focus on those products and do a presentation about what you can do, all your tools. And I always recommend sell sheets in their one-pagers. Your brochure has everything. But if you're presenting any product, just pull out the sell sheet for, say, Home from the Hospital, and hand it to them, because you can be talking about it at the same time and they're looking at it. And we'll move to the next slide. Okay, so what's a benefit and a feature? And you need to know this. I've been teaching you this if you follow me for a long time. A feature is just a factual statement about the product or the service being promoted. But features don't entice clients to sign up with you. Now let's look at this umbrella. The feature is it has these strong, braces or whatever they are, so the umbrella doesn't go upside down in the wind like in a hurricane. And it closes really fast. Well, that isn't necessarily, I mean, a lot of, I would say, nerdy people or technical people would think that's really important. But the number one thing is it keeps you dry, and that is a benefit. So that's how you think about it. And a benefit answers the question, what's in it for me? And while the feature provides something of what brings this benefit, but it's the benefit you sell to. So I'm going to go through care managers, and that we'll move to the next slide. So benefits and features to offer to wealth managers and trust officers, and you sell through these benefits and features. So features matter because they show your VIP customers how well your product and service delivers its benefits. So example of a feature, superior gold standard concierge service to the client and family. Well, that's true. That's a feature that is delivered to the entitled client. High-end services, they demand, because they do demand high-end services from your resource database. Like they want private drivers. They want private chefs. I have a private chef up there. They want car services. They're not taking Liftline, or but they don't like that. They want exclusive golf clubs to go use for recreation, even if they're like toddling around. I used to work in Pebble Beach. They just drove their golf carts around, but they wanted to be at Pebble Beach. And recreation that the entitled client wants. So you want to have a whole database of those things and show them you do. And then you're engaging clients so they feel they have a personal concierge. And really, Meg was showing you that, a one-to-one, just working with this person and understanding their exclusive needs, because they have exclusive needs, those 2%ers. You can think of Donald Trump with gold plated everything. It's very important they show their wealth, and you're part of that. So we will move to the next slide. What to put in your marketing packet. So your marketing packet, I said, this is a theatrical presentation. You're under the spotlight. So you bring these folders, and in them needs to be your brochure, an article or press, article about you. And newspapers don't have a lot to cover now. So you're opening, hiring new people, call them and have them come and cover it. And then your business card, of course, sell sheets, which are one-pagers about one service. And then case studies, as Meg talked about. So you can go through a case study and show everybody in the meeting, exactly, in real time, what you were able to do to help a client. So we'll move on. Benefits and features. So these are important. A feature for a care manager is that you assess the client's competency to make financial decisions. This is important for wealth managers. What is it? What's the benefit? What's in it for them? They know they can then gauge whether the client can make their own decisions about their own money. You bring that. The financial planner can't do it. We'll move to the next slide. And so features, again, for the financial planner, it's feature monitoring the status of the older client and reporting back to the financial advisor. And the benefit to them is they can work on the client's financial needs. They're not going to go out and figure out, whether they're competent enough. And you will inform the trust officer and the financial manager and the wealth manager, when psychosocial needs come up, and when more expenses need to be put out, and giving the financial manager time to just do his or her own job, and while you do essentially the detective work and the crisis management work. And we'll go to the next slide. Care managers can estimate the cost of care, and Meg talked about that. So a care manager, already Medicare severe limits. I can't tell you how many people still think Medicare covers long-term care. You understand when ADLs and IADLs are going south, they're more difficult, and that's sort of a harbinger of the older person needing care and bringing in expensive private home care and healthcare expenses into the spectrum. So you know that. And the benefit is clients who use financial manager are pre-planners, as she said. So the care manager can help the client think through the healthcare needs in advance. So they haven't hit it yet, which helps provide the wealth and the financial advisor a roadmap to, future expenses so they can save up all the money by investing it. Next slide. A benefit to the trust department. Instead of a trust officer with no health care skills, which you have the healthcare skills that will manage the client's mental health problems, manage those terrible adult siblings who disrupt everything, manage dysfunctional families, and there are so many of them in this category. And wealth managers, attorneys, they all hate them. They don't want to deal with them. They want to take care of their money, but they want you to take care of them, and you can. And then you can facilitate family meetings, as Meg was talking about, and get, the family to hopefully agree on care. We'll move to the next slide. So after the sales meeting, you enter all that data into your CRM database. You have to have one. Or you can have a email marketing database too, because they do have silos to put all the information in, and then send a handwritten note afterwards. This seems like a little thing, but it's very important. It's personalized. You are a personalized helper to them, because what are you doing out of this? You're building rapport. It's a natural outgrowth of these face-to-face sales meetings, but you want to keep the contact rolling. So you want to continue after the meeting to whoever you met with phone, text messages, emails, have an email newsletter, and keep sending it to them. And that will engender face-to-face meetings afterwards. So that's the whole sequence. And we'll move on to the next slide. So now we have our second interview with Patrice Harrison, and we're going to interview her about wealth managers. Hi, Patrice.
Hi, Cathy.
Welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to help the people on this webinar to, understand about wealth management, because you have been so successful in them coming to you. So, just like the other person that I interviewed, Patrice was my student.
Yes.
But I didn't pick her out because of that. My two students happened to do this, and so I found out. Okay, so we're going to start with, how did you go from care management to working with a wealth manager or a trust department? How did this happen?
Okay. Well, I actually had two levels of care. I used to work with Medicaid clients, which was clients that were underage, and I opened the elder care company. And so one day I got a call from a trust company, and they had an 8-year-old, and I was kind of confused. I had no idea that trust companies had different ages. I always thought of elder care, which is the company that I started with, the Harrison Group. And so they said I had an 8-year-old. So we started with that. And when I worked with the 8-year-old, it was with the family who needed help with resolving problems at the home, and they wanted to relocate and move to another home, which is relocation, which is one of the products we have. And so we did that, and it was a lot of working with the family, working with the trust, making sure the monies are placed with the home, and selling their house and moving to another house. When we did that, and we provided and made sure that they were impressed with our work, After that, they continued to refer clients. And they were happy because most trust companies are not in the same state. They're not in, and most wealth managers, they are away, they try to manage the monies, and they want us to take care of their clients.
Great, great. And so, it's a really easy question, but what's the difference? I mean, it's confusing to a lot of people. What's the difference between a wealth manager and a trust manager, trust company?
Okay. Well, the wealth managers, of course, a lot of them work within banks. You have different banks, Bank of America, Chase banks. The large banks have the wealth managers, and they have most times have a significant amount of monies that these clients, family members, or the inheritance they have, and they have in all these different trust accounts. There are different trust accounts too, and they have it in these banks. And so the banks, of course, some of these individuals become elderly and they need help, or they have disabled individuals, and they pay care managers to help them at home with all the services. And trust, kind of the same way, but there are different types of trust. And some of the trusts are nonprofit. And so they do have, most banks have a significant, or they have a deadline where they may say, we only take clients with 250,000 and above. But trust companies may take less than that. Some clients may have 20,000, 30,000, just depend. And so they, will hire care managers to take care of certain things at different times as well.
Okay.
They work the same, but from different ways.
Yeah, it's the level of income or the level of money in the bank. That's
right.
Right. Okay. What benefit did you bring to the trusts that they didn't have before? Why did they? I mean, I hear that you did a great job on this case, but what were they able to see that they thought, oh, let's do this?
Okay, because most times we are boots on the ground. We are the individuals, the care managers are able to go inside the home and see what their home environment is like, see how the kid is taken care of, or the adult who's there is taken care of, or how a person who's living on their own and trying to maintain without they're at risk of going to nursing homes. They want to know, is this person really maintaining, either are they getting their medications? Are they getting to the doctors back and forth? Who are they? Hopefully they're not getting exploited, but if they are, what's going on? And that's why I was getting a lot of clients, a lot of referrals some of them were getting exploited. Some of them had people living with them and they're not supposed to. Or then you have kids who, needed that protection where the parents weren't doing what they needed to do. And so that's where we come in at. We are the eyes and ears, and we become also the flip side of it. There are some parents or families who are taking care of individuals, but still the trust need to know what is going on in the home. We become the advocates for the family if they asking for certain help from the trust. Trust need to know, what help are you asking for? Is this legitimate help? Is this information, or what, you're asking for, a certain amount of money. We need a picture of what's going on. So they send us out to paint that picture.
Okay, this is not in, what we agreed upon, but do you find that you have clients of all ages, or, what percentage of older people do you have?
I do have clients of all ages. Most times I've noticed that with the wealth managers, most of the time they have elderly clients. A lot of them have elderly clients, but the trust managers, depends on what type of trust it is. If it's a nonprofit, they have all ages. So they send me someone, they have a lot of kids. I have a lot of kids, and I have young adults too, who are wanting to move into apartments. We have to get their leases, look at what's going on, how much is the lease, who's living there, because we split it. If it's 5 people or 6 people, we need to split it between 5 or 6 people. You can't pay the majority of the release because your trust is for you and not for everybody else in the house.
Got it.
So it's just, it's varied.
Okay. So we've really kind of talked about that, but What skills does a care manager have that the trust wants to work with you, or the wealth manager wants to work with you?
Okay. We have, well, one of the things I must say, we are able to establish a relationship with the clients. We become like almost like their family. You know, after a while, they are really, they're calling us, they're depending on us to do certain things, and they trust us. And that's what the trust company wants, us to go in, be able to establish a relationship. And most times we establish a long-term relationship, and then the clients are open with us. We know what's going on. We know them, they know us, and we work really well together. And we're able to, when we work well together, they're honest with us, and we can give that to the trust, you know, the honesty of the relationship.
Great. Okay. Does the trust pay you?
Yes.
Directly, your agency? Okay.
Yes. The trust pay directly, my agency, they a lot of times, because the trust has, even though we work with the clients and the trust work with the clients and they want to give their input, some individuals don't make good decisions. So it's by law that the trust has the last answer, or the last, for lack of a better term, say so of what, you know, when the money goes out.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, most times, all the time, the trust they pay us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's not to say that we would always get paid. Let's not, because you do have some that kind of, you know, it's business. It becomes business at that point. When you get a trust company, you want to see if you can trust them, and they most times you will get paid. Banks, they have the money. Some trust companies have money, but there are some who may not, and they're like 5%. Yeah. 5% may be slow paying, so you better be careful with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that you are looking to go national. So are you looking for other care managers as you move towards that?
Yes, absolutely. Right now we are in Texas, of course, and we are in Maryland, DC area, Virginia, and we're going to move towards California as our next place. But we certainly looking for care managers throughout, because we never know. We're not going to turn anyone down if a company call us, because we kind of connected. So if a company call us from North Carolina, we won't turn that company down. And so we are going to meet, you know, we may need some trust managers at any point in those areas as well, at any time.
Okay, and the level of skill that I know that ALCA has 3 levels of skill. So, would you be looking for, beginning care managers, or what level?
Yes, we are looking for beginning care managers. If you want to come in, and we certainly can train you to do what's needed. We definitely have that. We're all about education anyway, because we have students who we train as well. We have a couple of students from University of Texas at Austin that we work with, and they are learning. They are master's level students, and they're learning. And so definitely we are looking for entry level, as well as if someone is experienced, we are looking for that as well.
Good. And I think that you are the first care manager that is doing this. So I am so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so if you're interested in, learning more about Patrice's business, or that you might be interested in working for her, I'm going to, as I did with the last care manager, at the end of this webinar, I will have Patrice's address and contact information. So thank you so much. And as always, Patrice, and congratulations for doing, this wonderful thing in care management.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. And, you guys, whoever wants to, it's a wonderful, wonderful profession. And, I'm here for questions anytime. Cathy has my information, or, contact information if you want to call me anytime, because I'm always open to talking with everybody and networking. And that's what we, we're here to do. So.
Great. Well, thank you very much. After a busy day, I think we can end this.
Thank you, Cathy. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was a great interview, and we'll move on to the rest. Okay, so now at the end of every webinar, I do offers of services or for the products I have that that are reduced. So we'll move to the first one, and that is my GCM operations manual. I get a lot of questions about this. It's in its 5th edition. It has 15 services or products, and I've been talking about that. Don't say you do just assessment. You need to have hard, products that you can solve. I can solve moving. I can solve being in the hospital, etc. And it has step-by-step how to deliver each service. So you don't really have to think about that. A separate forms manual, and the manuals are for free included here. Not for free, excuse me. The manuals are part of the product. And it comes in an electronic PDF. It's normally $6.50, but if you buy it now, in the next 10 days, it's only $5.50, or you can get it through a subscription. I started that 2 years ago. It's $70 a month, and it's only available from today until October 22nd. And if you are interested in it, you can go to my website, or my website, cathycress.com. So we'll move to the next one. And the next one is the GCM Operations Manual online class. So I have a whole online class in this if you can't just figure out what to do with the manual. It's a self-paced class, takes about a year to complete. It includes for free the 2 manuals, and it's electronic. So I just, deliver it. I send it to you. So that you can edit it, and you can edit the manual if that's all you get, and put your logo in it. And if you don't like what I said, change things around, but make it your own. And there's 22 modules in it that you're going to cover with the 15 services, because death and dying has 5 modules, because there's 5 parts to death. And home from the hospital is before, in, and out, and very important, those 3. So there's 22 hours of free consultation with me as part of this, and I charge $200 to consult, so it's a really good deal. And the classes are every 2 weeks, and they're marketing with. I teach marketing with each product, so I not only teach you how to deliver it, but I teach you how to market it. And there's free tech support. I have someone that can help anybody with the technology. And there's a new choice of just taking 12 of the modules for people who are really, really busy, and then using 22 hours of the rest for consultation. The third one is, this is more of that class. ALCA has given me 57 CEUs through ALCA to award to people that take the class. So you can get free CEUs through all of these modules. And there's a closed Facebook page that, where you can exchange information with other people. The price is normally $9.95, but you can have it for $8.95 in the next 10 days. And if you belong to ALCA, I now have an offer that if you belong to ALCA, you get $100 discounted as well. So it's $7.95. Or if you can only pay, for a subscription, manner, it's $95 for 11 months. The offer is just in the next 10 days, and you can go to my website, cathycress.com. Or you can just go, when you go to the website, just go to contact, and you can get in touch with me about it. And you can see CMC, it's approved by NACM. And the next one is We have a whole business class, and these are for people who are just starting and really need to know the skills in starting a business class for geriatric care management, which of course includes marketing and marketing to wealth managers and everybody else. It's, there's 2 free operations manuals with it. It's self-paced. There's only 10 modules to it. It's a little bit shorter. And you have 10 hours in consulting with me as well, which is quite valuable. And, one-to-one coaching, and there's free tech support, because all the classes are in Canvas, which the UC system uses. A very intuitive class platform. A closed Facebook page. It's normally it's normally $8.50 and it's $7.50, and you can also buy it by subscription. And again, it's just available for the next 10 days, and you can find out more on my website. And the last one is, if you don't want to take the classes, you don't have time to do that, but would you like to get CEUs? ALCA has given me the ability to give you CEUs. So you can get CEUs for any of the classes by taking a short test, and there's a link here to find out who all the 21 classes. And you just, check to get whichever ones you want. And if you want to get one, it's $70 per CEU, and a bundle is 3. And we'll move on. I think we're done here. This is how to connect with me. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I have a lot of social media and a YouTube channel, etc. And then this is finally, we'll move on, how to get a hold of Patrice and Margaret. And they really do want to get a hold of you. Margaret's thrilled. She wants to find other people that do what she does. And Patrice, they're both really incredibly nice people. I just loved working with them for these interviews. So now we're going to get into questions, and Keith and I are going to do that as we usually do. And I hope you took my advice and wrote them down. Because if you have any questions, this is a brand new thing. I've never done it. And it's a great opportunity. I hope you really understand that to get into this field. So if you have questions, Keith will take them, and then we'll both answer them, because we both taught at the University of Florida, and we've known each other for a long time.
We have. We've done this a number of years as well, Cathy.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for now this presentation, and there are a few questions here, which we'll get to. But this presentation is quite a bit different than your past ones, and you're specifically looking at 2 areas where the financial planning and the wealth managers aspect of how they integrate or work with care managers and sort of their role and your role in that process. And I really just wanted to highlight, I think it was Patrice that said, you're not only just sort of working for, you're an advocate for your pay, and you get to know them. So part of being a care manager is you have to anticipate what next year is going to bring and the next 10 years are going to bring, especially if you have the younger clients, like she had, I think she said an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or, a child. So that's a long time to be with somebody if you're going to continue to be their care manager. So and you have to know these things. You have to know what their needs are going to be in the future. And not only that, but you have to now project that or present that in a way that these financial planners and these wealth managers can understand that. And I think that's one of the true benefits of being a care manager. Not only do you identify what they need, but you have to be able to explain it in order for them to open up the purse strings to be able to pay for these services as well. And that's a skill, because people don't like to part with money necessarily. And I think your presenters brought that out, and they're saying, that their job and their function is to, protect that money and to use it appropriately, and so they make those decisions. So our job is to be able to convince them that this is necessary for for the client to have these services. And it can be quite expensive, I'm sure, some of the things that we're requesting and asking for.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's what we all find out as care managers, that, without Medicare for all, it's, unfortunately, only
Yeah,
that,
you gotta claw your way through the system in order to get what you need and or not get what you need in
right.
many cases.
A lot of it's
Uh,
not getting it. So do we have questions?
Well, we do, and I think both of them are related to maybe the logistics of things. And just let me just say that folks will get a copy, correct, of your
Yeah,
presentation.
tomorrow you will get a recording that you can
Okay.
see in here, as I always do. And it's actually thanks to James, and I'll be sending it out in constant contact, because that's how I do it.
So the question is, can they have the Min is asking, can we have the email addresses from both Patrice and Margaret? And I think you at the very end.
They're in
You
they're in one of the last slides. Yeah.
And then the second question is also the link for the wealth managers. That was also in your presentation as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mhm.
And that will be also available to them once they get that presentation, and they can just go to that and click on it then.
Right.
Okay, all right. That's the only really two questions I have. Questions related. Let me see if there's some other things
I'm
over here.
always dragging it out of you. If you've ever been in these, it's like, come on. This is a class that's really important to you. And
Ah,
I'm Keith and I are willing to answer any of the questions you have. You took the time to come, so think of something to ask.
yeah, and Cathy charges $200 an hour. I think she said as an advisor. So I charge nothing, so you're not getting any benefit from me. But so now definitely would be the time. So there's two posts here in the chat, and I think they are both the I don't know who posted them, but or maybe James did. Yeah, he looks like he may have. So both Patrice and Margaret's links or contact information is there for folks who are still listening, and would just go ahead and go over to. You can just write those down, but they're also included in your webinar as well, so they can just wait to get it for tomorrow, and they would have it.
Right, they're at the end. Last
Or at
slide.
the very end, right? Okay, let's see here. Oh, okay, we have another question here. And I hopefully GF and then hopefully that answers your questions as well. Here's a question. Would they respond to a cold call? What if he had no contacts initially? So he just maybe looking at I was going to say phone book, but there are no phone books anymore, but look
No,
online.
I gave you a phone book. I gave you a link.
The 100, right? You said there's like 100 of.
It's going to be, it's from Forbes magazine. They put it out each year, but you're going to see specifically who to call. And in truth, you're all going to be doing cold calls. And I told you a long time ago, I say it every time, I hated cold calls. And, I would call and call and call. And finally, I'd get somebody in the line. And the first time I hung up on them, I was so terrified. Don't be that. You can call them. They, most of these financial planners and care managers, they're going to know what a care manager is. In fact, Wells does this on a regular basis. So, you're just going to call and say that you cover that area, and you want to come up and make a presentation and, make an appointment. You can do it. I know you can do it. And you might hang up like me, but you'll, eventually you'll talk to them.
I was going to ask you, do you think they're receptive to somebody as opposed to attorneys or maybe even physicians' offices?
Yeah, they are receptive because, what Meg was talking about, saying that they were innovative, but, they know that a lot of attorneys, for instance, have care managers working for them. And I think it's the next field, really, that, wealth managers know that they need us. And so, I think just, introducing yourself and, using some of these points that both Meg and I and Patrice have given you about, you know, the value of what you have to bring. And, you know, just go back and look at the slides and just, you know, explain that and, you know, get your foot in the door.
And that's all you really need is an opportunity,
Yeah.
know, 'cause you're good at what you do, so that would speak for itself in your presentation. I'm sure that they would, and they would be receptive because I think you had said before, and I think that even came out in your guest speakers that they don't really want to get messing around with care management. They don't want that sort of everyday dirty work that we do, the family issues and the appointments and so on. They want to know where their money is going and why it's going to there, but and generally receptive to doing that as long as they have a reason and understanding of what it is that's being, but you're doing, I say dirty work, but you know what I mean. You're doing
Their
really,
relationship is with money.
it's different,
Your
right?
relationship is who needs the money. I mean, you can make, you know, lots of points out of what I've given you. You know, how, you know, your value and know your value. I mean, it's a really, really wonderful marriage. It really is. And you can structure, and I gave you exactly how to do it. So just keep reading it. And if you get mixed up, don't call me. You can email me.
Yes, there you go. All right. Let's see here. And I think James also put, if you look into folks who are listening, look to the little chat box down there. I think he also posted the Forbes link that you were talking about for the 100. So that's there as well for folks to go ahead and either copy that or click on it. I think if you click on it, you go right to it, and then you can just save it as a
Exactly.
link. And,
Exactly. You know, I'm saving you a lot of time by giving it, because when I started, and I've known about wealth managers being a great resource, but when I started, it was like, where would I find them? And then finally, I started finding these links, and that's a piece of gold for you, because I've done it a long time.
Mhm.
More questions?
Something from Jennifer here. She writes, I would love to hear more about the two speakers about how to get past the excitement. All wealth managers love the idea of a care manager, but don't want to engage or pay. How to get past that?
Right. And, you know, I mean, these people, you know, Patrice and Meg are really interested in talking to you. So, you know, that's a golden moment in itself. So I would really contact them.
They could take advantage of their,
Yeah.
they're
I mean, they themselves
available.
are innovators. I mean, I'm just so lucky to find them. I've known Patrice for a long time, and I knew she was doing this. I did not know Meg. Meg just approached me, and I was like, wow. And
Yeah, that's
so, you know, there are people that have really just branched out. They're, you know, they're very original, and I'm really, you know, glad that I was able to work with both of them. So you can reach out to them.
and let's see. I don't think this is a question. I think it's more of a statement here. It says, GF writes good presentations. I've worked with wealth managers and trust officers and certified financial planners for several years. Okay, so there's yet another person now has done it. The relationship, yes, the relationship and consistently delivering very high level of services are critical. I would agree with that, because that's well, and you do that with everybody, every client, every person, every contact that you have, attorneys, financial planning. You always put your best foot forward, your best services forward, and give 100% of your time and effort towards, especially towards your clients, because you are representing them in this area here. You are going to back them. They're advocate, and I think it's what Patrice had said. And that's important, because you're your advocate. So what you say to these people are a representation of your client. You're just an extension of what your client needs and what they're asking for.
Another thing I would really suggest is in Care Managers Working for the Aging Family. There's a chapter by Claudia Fine and Nick Newsom. And it's a brilliant chapter about working with entitled clients. And because they are really different, they're hard because they're so demanding. And I would read that chapter. it was done a while ago, but it stands for itself, and they know what they were doing because their company became Humana. It merged with Humana. Claudia's a wonderful person, so's Nick. So I would read that chapter because there's nuances in working with these people because they need their station acknowledged. And that's, they really want gold standard service. And like Keith said, you should give it to everybody, but these people demand it. And one like Meg said, if you do, you've got to have your best foot forward, your best person that makes this, takes on this case, because if not, you're not going to be able to follow up with them.
And potentially risk, losing other referrals in the future as well.
Exactly. So, yeah. And
There-
social, then more questions.
No, I was just looking here. I do not see any further questions. I do not.
Well, you've been a great audience. Thank you so much for coming again. I think, I'm so glad that you were able to attend this one, because I think it's just, an excellent opportunity for care managers. And I hope you use it, and you will get the copy of the recording tomorrow. And thank you again for coming.
Well, thank you, Kathy, for another interesting presentation. Look forward to the next one. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Something just popped up here at our Q&A, so maybe we're not quite done yet.
Okay.
Okay, it's not. Oh, you're okay. Oh, Renata, yeah, hi. Yeah, Renata, she used to be she was a student in a class there. Not a question. Thank you. Okay, took your class. Yeah, I sure did. Yes, you did. And Kathy has the book. Yeah, we used the book. We used the book throughout the whole classes. Yeah, it was a great resource. They're not offering it, and UF is not offering those classes any longer.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad for them. Maybe they'll bring it back. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That shout out there, Renata. Okay, well, that wasn't a question, really. That was a nice acknowledgement there.
A bon voyage question.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, thank you again, Kathy, and we will see you next time.
Yes, and all of us. Although you don't ever see James, but he's making it all happen.
He's there. He's the one that keeps this thing rolling. Yeah, for sure.
Have a good rest of your week and weekend.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.